hello again, and welcome to the show that's great to put on a nice cornbread and have for dinner. This is the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is right here. I am Mike Coletta, a.k.a. Hamilton Mike, along with my partner, Brian, the Ranger Tart. Brian, how are you?
That cornbread's warm. I like to put it between my hands. And
like a pocket warmer.
It is a cold day.
I'm gonna
here in
I'm
the
gonna
studio.
throw some pallets over there and start the bonfire. Anyway, we are here with a little bit of home cooking. Well, not home cooking, but we're in Jersey. So we're going to talk about the NFL preview show for the Minnesota Vikings.
It feels like Minnesota.
If we should have had this show outside.
Yeah.
That'd have been great. But the Minnesota Vikings, you know, what a year that they've had. We talk about
surprising.
You talk about a team that's just wow with Case Keenum. Everybody that has been a talk the entire year about this team is when are you going to get Teddy Bridgewater in? When are you going to go out and get a quarterback? You can't go in with Case Keenum. You know what? Case Keenum is 12-3, and you can't knock what the guy has done. He might not be a household name. He might not be an elite 3 quarterback of all time, but damn it, give the guy some respect because the guy is just doing it. He's not hurting you at all.
10-1 in their last 11. We're in week 17 against the Bears. Doesn't matter. We're filming actually before that show. Yeah. But, you know, everything that could have gone wrong for this team kind of did. You know, you trade a first-round pick to the Eagles for Sam Bradford. That was a disaster and a half.
Yeah.
He gets hurt. Yeah. Then Case Keenum comes in. You think the season's over. Yeah. Your second-round pick Dalvin Cook goes down. Now you got Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray. And you know what? They haven't looked back.
And we've talked about that. They've gotten almost the same amount of yards that Dalvin Cook we think would have gotten. But they've mixed it up.
Yeah.
You talk about Murray with 731 yards. You talk about McKinnon with 526 yards. They've done it on a mixed package, Brian. They've mixed it up. They've thrown out of the backfield a little bit. And combined, they have a total of 9 touchdowns on the ground. You talk about receiving, 2 touchdowns combined out of the backfield. But they're not a running team per se. They've done it with Stephon Diggs. They've talked about with Thielen. They've talked about a lot of guys on this team, even Kyle Rudolph, who a lot of people are talking about, who can get the job done. Jarius Wright. You talk about Treadwell. You talk about guys on this team that can make plays.
But it's been Thielen.
It's mainly been Thielen.
It's been Thielen. And
Thielen's had a phenomenal year.
You know what's funny is everyone wants to look at his season this year and say, wow, look at the improvement. His average yardage is the same as last year, basically.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot more receptions, a lot more targets this year.
And he's only had 4 touchdowns, but you look at 1,200 yards receiving.
Yeah. And
a lot of those plays are third downs, where they need to get the first down, keep chains moving. There he is. And like you said, most targeted guy in the league this year. By far.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure if he's top. I think it's him for sure.
It's him and Cooper Kupp, I think, that have been targeted the most this year for the Rams.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who was a walk-on, too. He went to college in Minnesota, hometown kid from Minnesota, walked on and got a tryout with the Vikings, and look where he is. But this team makes plays offensively, defensively, and we didn't even go into the defense yet.
The defense, listen, I've been on the Xavier Rhodes bandwagon all year. The guy's amazing. We talk about their defense. Haven't even mentioned Everson Griffin, 13 sacks. So it's kind of like this is a team that wins their games defensively, and they're getting what they need from the offense. A lot of people are talking about they're trying to draw correlations to the Eagles, for example, with the Vikings are doing it with Case Keenum. Why can't the Eagles with Nick Foles? And I understand why you'd say that, but to me, I've always felt that the drop-off between a guy like Bradford and a guy like Keenum is just not as vast as Wentz to Foles, and this team wins defensively. So you look what they're able to do defensively. They don't rely on that offense. As banged up as it is, with important guys not there, their D is just stifling. You want to talk about stifling? That's the defense.
You talk about Griffin and Hunter on both defensive ends, combined 20 sacks between them.
Sick. Sick.
You talk about Linval Joseph, who has 3.5 sacks. And you talk about, like you said, that secondary led by Xavier Rhodes. And I go back to the story, and I love to tell it all the time. They played the Falcons played the Bucs, and I believe it was week 12. And the Bucs aren't a good defensive team by any stretch, but 256 yards Julio Jones had. The following week, they played Minnesota. Xavier Rhodes covered him. He didn't get 1 reception. Shut him down. And that's a good receiver, don't get me wrong, Julio Jones. I mean,
really good receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Bucs being a bad defensive team, yeah, but coming off a performance like that, you would get something in a way of 40 yards, 20 yards. Nothing. He got 0. So this is a defense that should not only be feared, they will get the job done. They are a team that can keep you under 13 points and not blink.
Locked into that number 2 seed. So they're really a Nick Foles loss away in the divisional round from really having the home field advantage all the way through, because the Super Bowl is in Minnesota. And, that's...
Yeah, could be the first year that Minnesota has a home team in the Super Bowl.
They currently are the Vegas favorite to come out of the NFC. That would be one hell of an interesting scenario for a team to host the Super Bowl. And we talk about, obviously I'm a New England mark, for at least for this season, probably next in the future. You talk about who can beat the Patriots? If the Vikings are hosting the Super Bowl,
that's tough.
That would be something we've never seen.
What an advantage that is. I mean, that'd be crazy.
For sure.
But, we could talk all day about this defense, but, even Terrence Newman, ex-Cowboy, playing in that secondary is just had a great year at 39 years old, anchoring the veteranship of that secondary. I mean, you want, like I said, you want to talk about Case Keenum and when you get Teddy Bridgewater in. Case Keenum's a free agent at the end of this year. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with him. I think he goes to another team, gets the money, gets paid, goes somewhere else, because I think he's proven that he can be a good NFL quarterback. Do they keep him and maybe keep him for a backup role and put Teddy Bridgewater in there? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. But Minnesota, I think, hands down, is a favorite coming out of the NFC. I think they could beat a lot of teams in there. I don't think they match up well. The only team they might match up with a little bit is the Saints, in the sense of the offense is kind of similar, but defensively they're on two different spectrums.
They have allowed the least amount of points in the league coming into Week 17.
Yeah.
Even less than the Jags. And the Jags, we've been talking about their defense all season. So, listen, they're going to be a real tough out in the playoffs. I think I don't see them losing that first game regardless of who they play.
Right.
In the NFC Championship game, if they have to go to Philadelphia, I just can't imagine. I can't see Nick Foles really putting up points on this defense the way it's been. I don't know. To me, I really think they are the lead dog to come out of the NFC, and I think the numbers reflect that.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about that they're going on the road. They're 6-2 on the road. So, it's going to be really interesting, to say the very least.
Yeah.
We reached out to Larry Errera, Sportsbox correspondent for the Minnesota Vikings, who I know is Vikinged up right now. Wanted to share his thoughts as well.
This is Larry Errera, Minnesota Vikings affiliate for the Sportsbox. We're here talking about the Minnesota Vikings and the playoff picture and what could possibly happen for the Vikings if they're successful. And how, for them to be successful, nobody even heard of Case Keenum's name before. Nobody would ever thought a third-string quarterback could be doing what he's doing with this team. And yet he is doing it. He's doing it very well. With Kyle Rudolph, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Jarius Wright, and even Laquan Treadwell, along with Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon, C.J. Ham. He's got a plethora of offensive weapons, and what the Vikings need to do is Case Keenum needs to manage the game just as he's been doing. He hasn't really turned the ball over much, so if he can keep that going through the playoffs, we're definitely going to the Super Bowl. The time of possession, it's the same thing for any team. And with our defense, as long as our defense plays the way they've been playing each week, every week, hands down, all roads are closed, as they say. Ain't that right, Anthony?
Yep.
That's my son, Anthony Rocco, and he is my good luck charm and best buddy and diehard Vikings fan. The Vikings had a lot of injuries this season and last season. With the loss of Teddy Bridgewater, then with Sam Bradford, and then especially even Dalvin Cook. I mean, Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon, they really came out and they picked up the slack. I honestly believe that this could be our year. And got my fingers crossed. Been a fan since 1975, and I'm hoping this is our year. This is Larry Errera, affiliate for the Minnesota Vikings, along with junior affiliate Anthony Rocco Errera, and we are for the Sports Box. See you later.
Appreciate that, Larry. Thank you much. Larry, listen.
Brings it.
This is a team that has not had a very long history of success.
If Larry came on the show, we'd probably have to do a show outside because Larry looks like a mountain man sometimes. We could probably do the show outside.
Larry could be a Viking.
Larry could be a Viking. He probably has those horns pushed away in his head sometimes, and he's been a Vikings fan for as long as I can remember.
Again, I'm gonna go on record. I think they go to the Super Bowl. And again,
you know what? You got to make them the favorite coming out of the NFC.
I mean, the Rams went up there and lost. The Saints lost to them as well. So they've beaten teams in the NFC that they've had to play. I don't really worry about them having to come to Philadelphia potentially just because I just don't see it.
So the way they're playing this year, the season that they've had and everything falling into place for them, if they were to lose any one of these games up to the Super Bowl, it'd be a tragic loss, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I feel.
I think so. I mean, again, I think they're going to end up playing a team like the Rams or the Saints in that first game. I think they win that game. They have already beaten those teams there. I think no matter what happens in the second round, in the NFC Championship game, no matter where it is, I don't see a team that's going to beat them because the only team they have to go on the road to is the Eagles, and we know it's not Carson Wentz.
And help is coming. Tremaine Brock is coming off the IR, so he's another defensive back that you can use. He probably plays this week against the Bears, but it's going to be interesting. It is. This team's loaded for bear right now.
Imagine that. No Dalvin Cook, no starting quarterback, and here you are.
You're still powerful, yeah.
Defense wins, man.
It's going to be very interesting. So that's all the time we have for our Minnesota Vikings preview. Hope you enjoyed it. There's some other preview teams out there, too. We've done some specials on. We got some good stuff coming for playoffs, so keep an eye out. You can always get us on social media if you need to.
Thank you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We really do appreciate that. But make sure you also follow us on Facebook at Sportsbox Show, on Twitter at Sportsbox Show. We also have Outside the Box, our official Sportsbox Talk discussion group. Join us there as well. We're everywhere. We're going to be bringing you a lot of great content leading into 2018, so make sure you're on the ride.
Absolutely. And don't forget, at the Sportsbox, the only opinion that matters is right here. Thanks for watching, folks. See you.
This episode of the Sports Box is brought to you by Mic'd Up Entertainment and DJ Mike Velardi. For all of your event planning needs, make sure you contact Mike at 609-864-5925 and tell him that you saw him on the Sports Box.
One, two, three.
Don't forget to subscribe.